The whole situation around mental health services in Tipperary is a very, very serious issue. Indeed, it had been a serious issue all along prior to COVID. I want to wish your new Minister, Deputy Mary Butler, the very, very best, a very good appointment. I look forward to engaging and working with her. And indeed, she has agreed to the request from Deputy Cahill and myself to come and visit Clonmel. We have not one single mental health long-stay bed in Tipperary. Vision for Change was a disaster. We lost our wonderful St. Michael's, which was an acute, and which was many, many people used it for decades. It was closed. Last Minister for Health, Mental Health, Minister Daly, acknowledged that it was a mistake. He admitted, and his officials now admit, that we have a deficit of 25 long-stay mental health beds in South Tipperary alone. And Kilkenny just hasn't space for us, hasn't room for us. They have to cover the whole South East. I want to salute the volunteers in Clonmel and the people that are picking up the flag, and the Tipperary Fight for Mental Health Services. June and all her team at River Shore Patrol. Father Michael Toomey, who will be meeting Minister Butler. She's agreed to meet him. Joe Leahy and all his team at Seesaw. And there are volunteers doing the work and the support that ordinary people, that the services should be providing. This is not fair. It's not right. This COVID has put a massive pressure on people's mental health and people's lives. So, Taoiseach, we need action. Words anymore won't suffice. And as I said, we need those beds. We need our crisis house to be expanded. We're waiting for that as well. And we need a specialist nurse to be appointed on 24/7 basis at the A&E that can assess patients that present with mental health difficulties and that want to, admittance. Many have been sent home, and sadly, many have died. Outside of Dublin, Tipperary is the highest issue of suicides with mental health issues, and that is appalling vista at this time in our country. Clonmel, unfortunately, is the highest within the county. It's just not acceptable. People are crying out for help. Volunteers and families are trying to support, but there are no services that have been turned away. I had a case last weekend where a person was sent around from Billy to Jack and could go nowhere, sent home again, threatening to self-harm. Her family hugely upset, and huge disquiet about that. So we need those beds. But above all, we need Vision for Change. I know has been replaced now, 3 years out of date, but it gave us no change or no hope in Tipperary. It was a failure, and we need those beds. It's acknowledged by the Minister, former Minister Daly, and the HSE officials that those beds are a deficit of those beds, but we need them now. We could find 600,000 recently for COVID to do up St. Michael's. They refused point blank to allow patients back into it, or to have even a space there, one room for people that were presenting to the adjacent St. Joseph's Hospital with mental health crisis to be in there. Now it's kitted out for COVID. Thankfully, I hope it won't be used. We accept that. We acknowledge the good work done there. But this must be kept open. What is proved now is where there's a will, there's a way. The money was found to open it for COVID. We must have that facility reopened. The 25 beds that have been, 25 to 30 beds that have been prepared there, en-suite rooms, must be used to treat the people of Tipperary, West Waterford. Must be used because they need those services, and we can't have the terrible situation of suicides. Too many families, too many lives have been lost.
Taoiseach, please.
Touching any what we're on. I didn't go near it. That's my point. I want to thank the Deputy for raising what is a very serious issue in terms of mental health services in general, and in terms of specifically in Clonmel and in Tipperary. And I think there are two dimensions to the mental health services. One obviously is physical facilities, acute capacity, in other words acute beds in particular facilities. And I know the South East in general and Tipperary have been short of acute capacity in mental health for quite some time. The other aspect of it, of course, is securing the necessary personnel and staff to provide the services once you have the facility. And it seems to me, having worked in the area and been engaging with previous ministers and the HSE, that there seems to have been a significant challenge in terms of recruiting and securing qualified personnel. And I think, and welcome the fact that you've already had an engagement with the Minister, Mary Butler, in relation to this. I've no doubt that she will respond diligently to the points that you and all your colleagues in Tipperary have. In relation to this, now in terms of St Michael's, I think you have said that the physical improvements have happened. I think that we will have to ensure that we can get the right personnel in place and recruit the professionals. But in addition to that, I think we must also work with non-governmental organisations, the NGOs, some of whom you've described, who can help in providing services to people who are on waiting lists for far too long in terms of getting access to very basic mental health services. I'm particularly conscious that COVID-19 will create additional burdens in terms of mental health need, and many people, it will have an impact on many people, and I think that's something we need to improve our services to respond to. So I have heard what you've had to say. I know that yourself and Deputy Cahill, I believe, are meeting with the Minister, and I'll certainly work with the Minister as well to see what we can do specifically to try and improve the situation in Tipperary.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Deputy McGrath.
Good morning, Taoiseach, I thank you for your reply and response. I'm asking you, have you the will to find a way? It has been a failure since Vision for Change. A mental health crisis 24/7 nurse was appointed, was recruited, but didn't get the go-ahead because of the embargo on mental health places. This embargo is not fair when people are losing their lives. It's just shocking. It has been transformed now for COVID, the St Michael's Hospital. It can't be allowed, and I believe the people of the county won't allow it to be closed when COVID passes. We have to have those beds used, and we have to have the staff and the qualified personnel that are there, because the community service that were promised, the Rolls Royce service were promised when we closed St Michael's as part of Vision for Change, hasn't got into gear, and we've lost too many lives, and too many families have been distraught, and devastation and havoc. So we have much more pressure on people now, financially, business people and everybody, with the COVID and with the crisis situation. So we need those beds, and we need for you and your Minister to find a way and have the will to find it.
Taoiseach, please.
Yeah, first of all, I do have the will to deal with this issue. And secondly, as I said, the Minister will work with you in relation to this. But I'll also say to you that every region needs an acute capacity, but don't underestimate the importance of strong community-based mental health as well. In my view, you need the continuum, and I think the better and the stronger the community health presence is, the less the need for acute admissions. And I can recall a long time ago meeting with the services in Monaghan, for example, which was at that stage one of the leaders in terms of developing the non-acute side of mental health services. And it is extremely important that we've developed both in tandem, because one has a direct impact on the other. And I take your points.
Thank you very much.